Imagine fixing pipes that run a hospital that saves thousands of lives. Well, serving up at the breakfast buffet, we have son of a plumber and his father before him and his father before him. That's right, we have Tyler Hunt. Learn about his journey and his story at the breakfast buffet. I hope you guys enjoy.
Do it! Made Jazz a call. Made the decision 14-4.
Here we are. We got the son of a plumber and his father before him and his father before him and his father before him, right? We have Tyler Hunt, family of plumbers, a true blue-collar guy in the blue-collar town of South Plainfield. My teammate, Captain Hunt. What's up, my man? How you doing?
Great, Jazz. How you doing, man? Good to hear from you.
Oh, yeah. It's always a pleasure seeing you and, of course, hearing you. You know, we haven't seen each other really since the whole quarantine, so it's good to finally see you again.
Definitely great to see you, man. I miss you.
Yeah, I miss you too, man. I miss you too. And especially with the summer rolling around, and we gotta get the squad.
That's usually our time to shine.
The summer at the Jersey Shore. Hopefully, we'll get some months out of it, right?
We will. We'll get there.
Yeah, gotta have some hope. So what's up, man? So what have you been doing now during quarantine? How has life changed, or maybe stayed the same?
Quarantine. In the beginning, my job got shut down, so I was off for a little bit. But then, kind of tried to get back into the normal swing of things, and I went back to work. You know, normal stuff. I wear a mask. I wear rubber gloves. I'm safe about everything. Wash my hands. But for me, the construction worker, everything kind of stayed the same. You just gotta be precautionary with everything, you know.
Yeah, you probably just gotta take some extra measures, you know. Basically, that's essential, right? You gotta get the plumbing down. You gotta get the infrastructure down and everything, right?
Yeah, they deemed my job essential, so it's been going on the whole time pretty much, and I guess you could say I'm an essential worker.
You're an essential man, the essential worker right here, Tyler Hunt. So, you know, you were you were a junior when I was a freshman, right? Or were
Yeah.
you a senior? You
I was-
were a junior. Yeah. And you were you know, one of the leaders on the team, eventually captain. So, you know, as a kid seeing you wrestle in high school, you know, we all look up to you when we're younger. So, like I tell you before and all the time, like, yo, when I was just a kid wrestling in high school, I was like, I just wanted Tyler Hunt to be proud of me. I just wanted him to say, yo, you did a good job.
Hey, man, definitely did. You stepped up and you jumped right into Murderer's Row, right where you fit in, and it was a great time back then.
Yeah, and what's great about everything is how close we still are to this day. You know, basically all of us talk to each other. We have a group chat, the Who Is Tory group chat. So we're staying in touch with each other all the time, which is super important coming from that program. So knowing you and knowing you know your great career in high school wrestling, you also had you know a lot of cutting weight stories and just a bunch of you know the hustle, man, the hustle of Tyler Hunt. You're always that energy in that room and that voice in the room to just pump us up and get us going. Where did that come from? What was your inspiration and what was your mindset of leading this incredible team?
When I was a freshman and sophomore, I had people to look up to just like you did. So I was looking up to guys you all know, Mike Wagner, Nick Heilman, and you just watching them, you learn how to become a leader. You see what they do, you see how they perform, and it kind of just shows you something that if you model what they do, you'll be exactly what you want to be. And you got to get loud. You got to get people to be on your team, to be behind you, just like you're behind everyone else. So being the older guy out of the group, so I just try to get everyone in my corner and make sure we all got the job done.
And we did. We definitely did, right? We definitely did. And you know, your brother was a wrestler too, right? How many years apart was Brian?
Brian's 5 years older than me, but he was in the other core group with Astronaut's older brother Billy, and they had a bunch of guys, Nick Dory, Coach Mike Jakubic. They had a bunch of guys up there, Patrick Hunter. So they were practically us before we were us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you looked up to that group and said, these are some hard-nosed guys right here. That's how I want to wrestle. Tough.
Exactly. Watching them, just like I said, Hyman and Wagner, watching them in middle school gave me an idea of what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Looking up and really seeing yourself in their shoes. So then you ended up with your career. How many times did you end up placing?
I placed twice, fourth
Twice.
and second my senior year.
Fourth and second. And how much junior year you finally weren't really cutting weight, right? You were finally finding a weight class that it wasn't too bad, right?
Nah, I didn't cut weight at all. I cut weight hard my first 2 years. My freshman year was a tough cut. I was always staying after practice. I would have to drag my partner out after practice. And I guess I was growing, so it really hit me halfway through the season. Then my sophomore year, I thought I could be better at it. It was practically the exact same thing. My junior year, I said, screw this. I'm going the weight I want to go. And it worked out with everyone around us, with Scott going up a weight and Peyton being below me. It kind of just, I fell into 130, and that's where I had my first really good year.
Yeah, you probably finally found your stride with wrestling and enjoying the season a little bit more, right?
And I enjoyed going to practice. I enjoyed getting a workout. Before that, I dreaded going to practice.
Right? It was like
layering up two pairs of sweatpants, 3 shirts. I dreaded it. But then by the time my junior year came, I'd have a long sleeve shirt and a pair of shorts on. I'd love working out.
great, right? The old tape the wrist up.
Tape the wrist, tape the ankles. Bunch of illegal stuff that we didn't even want to do.
Oh, yep. Stuff, illegal stuff that we will may mention, may not. So what was one of the worst weight cuts you have ever done?
The worst weight cut I've probably ever done, it was before high school, but it was probably my first time ever cutting weight for the Virginia Beach Nationals, but they were in Salisbury, Maryland at the time. I was in 8th grade going into freshman year, and I was running around the parking lot with a winter hat on. It's Memorial Day weekend. Everyone else just weighed in. They're all drinking their Gatorades, and I see them all walking out, and I'm still working out. And then I ended up trying to turn the heat on in the car, sit in the car, get another sweat going, and then finally I went in with Mr. Astronaut. He took me to the last scale in line. I was 0.1 over on every other scale. He took me to the last scale in line. I was right on weight. That was probably the worst one I've ever had.
That was it. Especially in high school, we had that heavy scale, man. I think we might have had the heaviest scale in the state.
That heavy scale really messed with you because you'd be dead on weight for weight check, and then you get to the school where you're going, and by the time after the bus ride, you're a pound under. So you're thinking to yourself, how do I lose a pound? But then you got to think, our scale was always 8.8 heavy.
The worst is when we had those early morning bus rides and they would make us weigh in the back of the bus where it was all cold and stuff. And if you were over, they made us run in the parking lot. Oh, man.
Sit-ups in the aisle. The best part was when a team that was also cutting weight would come to our home gym and they'd step on the scale. They'd be like a half a pound over. They'd be like, what?
They'd be like, I swear I was on before I left.
We'd just be sitting there smirking.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's the scale. And we always knew the lightest spot on the scale, but even the lightest spot was even 0.5 heavier than most people.
Bottom left corner. I'll never forget that. Bottom
left corner. So, knowing that your story, you went 103, right? And then did you go 103 again sophomore year, or you went up?
I went 103, 119.
119, right? Yeah. So I remember in my head, I was like, man, I'm cutting all this weight, my first 3 years. I'm like, Tyler was doing it too, so I was like,
yeah, you got way more weight than I did, though. You were 13 your second year. I bumped up to 119.
Yeah.
I was a little taller, but.
Yeah, even at 103 for you, you're pretty tall, man. I was like, man, if Tyler could do that. But that was always my mindset. It was like, all right, someone, basically in my shoes, they were in my position. They did it, so I have no excuse. I got to do it. Exactly. And at the end of the day, we always made weight, right? We always got the job done.
I've never missed a weigh-in. That's true.
Never miss a weigh-in. So going for that, you ended up taking second at in the state tournament your senior year, an incredible year, and with your wrestling and everything, what I liked about you and what I tried to just emulate more of my senior year and stuff was, you always enjoyed the matches, even those top matches when we were wrestling the number 3, number 2 teams in the state. It was like, we were joking around, very loose atmosphere before the matches, and then when it was time to go, we competed. Man, you got the bonus points all the time.
That's what you need. You had to be relaxed because if you're all uptight, that's when your mind starts racing. That's when you get nerves. I mean, it's a lot easier when I'm on the team with 5 of my best friends, and when we go through the day together, we're joking about all these things. So it's practically the same thing once you throw your wrestling shoes on. You're made it even better when you're in front of a giant crowd. So much fun.
Yeah, we packed those bad boys up. I remember the best was you would always go to the head table and say, "Tyler Hunt, report him for duty."
It's a little something I had.
Yeah, those
I
are
had to let
those
him
are all.
remember me.
Yeah, that was the one of the best things. Like those little things always count. It was that, and was Seth Yoakum used to always shake with his left hand.
Yeah, you get him off guard with that. Everyone had their own little gist. It was fun times.
I like that. Shaking with the left hand threw everyone off. So then you ended up, taking second at the state tournament. How was that atmosphere? Just wrestling in the state finals. Basically your last high school match. It didn't go the way you wanted it to, but what was just the feeling of that, and then afterwards getting ready for college? You were getting recruited, right?
Yeah, I was recruited by a couple schools. Um, it was just pretty surreal. I remember that whole weekend. As we were just saying, this is a surreal moment. I mean, let's enjoy it while it lasts. Let's have fun. I was in the state finals with 3 of my other teammates, and it's kind of a hard thing to do. I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that can say they did, but that's something I'll always remember for the rest of my life. And it just got you prepared. I mean, even though I lost, it still got me ready for the rest of my life. Adversity, having a team behind you, having a big crowd behind you, you need all those things to succeed.
Yeah, and like you said, having your teammates there, right? For us, the big important thing was team, right? I don't think any of us really wrestled, for the individual. Everything was team, team, team. So, having 2 of your other teammates in the state finals definitely was a little bit of icing on the cake.
And 3
Um,
guys. We have
yeah.
3 in the finals that year.
Oh, 4. Yeah, we had 4. Yeah, so that was icing on the cake. So then from there, you ended up choosing NC State. Why'd you choose NC State?
I went to NC State. I mean, it was Papalizio's first year coaching, or it would have been. He was going to be the coach for my freshman year. So I liked him. I liked the way he was doing things. So I went down there, traveled, it was 8 hours away. So kind of far from home, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first year. I was a starter. I went 21-10. Didn't qualify for nationals, but I think I had a pretty good year. And the only thing that got to me, it was pretty far from home.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And, you met some pretty cool guys. I remember you used to bring back Sam Speno and Gwiz,
And,
Gwiz, the
Wiz, Billy Cook. I still keep
Billy
in touch
Cook.
with all those guys. Real good.
Yeah. And that
June
was the
3rd, Sam Spino's birthday. Shout out for
uh,
the Speen.
Sam Speno's lawn care. If you're down there in North Carolina, hit him up. He does he does the best work down there.
Does
But
immaculate work.
yes, fantastic work. And that's the great thing about you is like, you make these connections with people, and you're just a great friend and just a great guy to go to for anything, lighten up the mood and everything. Eventually, things didn't work out at NC State, and then finally you made that transition to Rutgers. And you're on the team with your high school teammates again, Ashnall,
Back
Scott,
to
and
that, yeah.
Corner.
It was
How
fun.
how was that? What was your decision in that process? Just making the trip back home.
Yeah, that's practically the whole decision. I wanted to come back home. I wanted to continue school and wrestling. So at the moment, I was thinking, where is the best place to go? I've, 2 of my best friends were on the team already. I knew a bunch of other New Jersey guys, so I fit right in there. right in good there.
Yeah, fit right in, and then how did that end up going? I know you had a pretty bad adversity moment there, and which basically ended your career. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I got hurt wrestling. I tore my ACL once in January, and then a couple months later, I was rehabbing for a return, and then I did it again, which kind of burst in my bubble. I was kind of down in the dumps about that, but I figured out what I wanted to do and went on from there.
Yeah, and then we'll touch on what you ended up doing, but who was your biggest influence, like your biggest influential coach, and who was your biggest influential coach, and then your influence in choosing just to drop out of college and finally pursue your career in a trade?
I'm gonna say my most influential coach was John Gonzalez, South Plainfield Middle School coach. He taught me a lot. Even if it wasn't about wrestling, it was just about how to handle things, how to get on through things, the right way to act. I remember having a couple sets of extras from him where he said, "You don't act like that." So he really taught me a lot of life lessons, also with teaching me how to be tough and become a good wrestler. So that's my most influential coach right there.
Gonz is the man.
Love that.
Nothing but good things. Not only from us, but his community in Rawway and everything. I still hear a lot of good things with him. He loves the sport, and also just the influence he has in our lives. A lot of his life lessons we still carry on to this day.
Everyone that was on the team. I was just at his house recently, and he still had pictures of us from that year. It was like 06, 07, 07, 08. We're still on his mind. He's still on our mind. Everyone thinks about him.
Definitely. So, finally, I'm sure it was a pretty hard decision to just not finish, your degree in college and transitioning into a trade school, to become a plumber and everything. What made that decision? When did you have that moment?
Well, when I was younger, I'd always go on weekend jobs with my dad. I'd do little small jobs with my grandfather and my pop-up, who was also a plumber. So I've always been working with pipes since back then, maybe 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade. And it's always been on my mind. Say college doesn't work out. Say college wrestling isn't for me. It's always been on my mind. And then I'm not going to say I was put in the position to where I had to choose school and wrestling or choose dropping out and finding something else, because I did want to become a plumber. So that's the route I chose. I wanted to do that because I knew I could be good at it. I've done stuff to prove myself that I'm good at it, and that's the route I took.
Yeah, sometimes you need to do that. Some of your past experience, and you find out you're great at it. You have to. You found what you were good at. So going into trade school, how much different is that than college?
College, very lenient. I was living in a house with my friends. I'd go to class when I wanted. I'd skip class if I didn't want to go. It was very lenient. It was really all on yourself. And then I got to trade school. I had class 4 times a week for 5 hours. If I miss, they take hours off of my. You need a certain number of hours to get your certificate at the end of the year. If I miss a class, that's 5 hours off of my certificate. So if I wanted to be successful, if I wanted to get this plumbing cert, I have to go to class. I have to learn what they're telling me. So really, I had to make a internal decision and show myself that I'm responsible, that I can go to class, that I want to start a career doing this, that I want to take my life moving forward.
I like that. No shortcuts. You're responsible for every class. And a lot of times in college you learn stuff that you don't need.
Exactly.
But in trade school you're doing stuff that you need, right? You can't really miss this. You can't miss this class because you're gonna end up doing it, right?
They'll tell you exactly what you have to know. In college, you'll be taking classes that check off under your major. I'm sure all of them help in a small way, but some of the classes have nothing to do with the major you're in or the job that you get after college. But for trade school plumbing, every class I went to, I'd be learning either plumbing code, how to install stuff. It's stuff that I do to this day, and that I'll do for the rest of my life. So it's really something. If you want to learn it, you have to be there. You have to go.
So what are the steps within trade school? You know, college, you have the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then grad school and everything. What are the kind of steps with trade school, and what steps are you at?
Um, and as a trade, you start off as an apprentice. That's like a beginner. First year, you're really getting the bearings down. I got a head start because, like you said, I'm in generations of plumbing with my family. My dad, my grandfather, his father. So I had a head start. I would know what plumbing fixtures are. I would know what plumbing fittings are. I would know how to fix a toilet. You know, all the simple things. But as a first year apprentice, you're really getting the bearings down and finding out how to change a toilet, how to do all the simple things. But there's 5 years of apprenticeship, and as the years go on, you learn more and more. Say second year, you're learning about different things, and then your boss trusts you to start putting pipe together and putting plumbing fixtures in, building a shower maybe. So as you get further and further into your apprenticeship, you start learning more by hands-on uh, technique. You know, like, here, you never did this before, but why don't you try it? And if you can figure it out, that means you're kind of going to get it. One time, you do it once, you practically have done it every time, you know? So there's 5 years of the apprenticeship. I'm in my fourth year now, and I've been working with the company that I'm with for the whole time. So I've had the same boss for 4 years, and he trusts me to put pipe in. He trusts me to do things right. If I have any questions, I go to him and I ask, or I go to my partner and I ask. So it's trust is a big thing with letting an apprentice do work. So I'm in a fourth year apprentice right now, and I have fifth year after that, and after I finish that, I just have to pass the test to become a journeyman, and then once I become a journeyman, I'll be able to take my master plumber's license test, and that's when I can get my own plumbing license.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, you know, when people think of plumbers, you know, they think about, you know, fixing the toilets and everything, but there's so much more to it. What are some different, you know, jobs and stuff that you do with it that comes with the trade?
Something I never even thought about until I became a plumber was hospitals. For hospitals, uh, there's surgery gas lines such as CO2, nitrogen, you know, all those gas lines. But it's all plumbing work because they run through copper pipe in the ceiling. Those copper pipes, they got to be put together by a master plumber in order to, say, have the surgeries working for the whole hospital. Say have, I don't want to say exactly what could be going on, but when I worked in the hospital, I'd be installing pipe to a cath lab, and my cousin, being a nurse, she tells me a cath lab is where they have patients who need oxygen, who are on life support sometimes. So you never really know what plumbing can do until you learn out the insides of it, and that's one of the things that I was really interested in.
Yeah, definitely something super important, right? You're the reason why the hospital, not the main reason, but one of the main reasons why the hospital's up and running. And
Exactly.
that's really cool. That's really important. Um, so what are some other cool jobs that you did? I noticed, yeah, remember you were saying that you helped build the new Rutgers facility, right?
Yeah, I was over at the Rutgers facility a couple times. Um, it's just they got all the showers. There's a big there's one giant shower with a bunch of shower heads going around the walls. So it's really involved. There's all pipes, and then they got uh, drains on the bottom, bunch of drains on the bottom. So you really gotta, if you pay attention while you're taking a shower, a normal person wouldn't notice it, but if when I was in there, I noticed it. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah, awesome. So, what someone trying to get into plumbing or being a plumber or any trade school, what kind of advice would you give them?
Um, just know what you want to do. There's plenty of trades out there. I do plumbing. There's carpentry. There's electricity. There's sheet metal. There's iron workers. There's mechanical and operating engineer. There's so many different routes to take, but the one thing I think you should really focus on is finding what you're interested in. Test them all out. Maybe not test them all out, but test a couple of them out. See what you really like. If you like to work with your hands on little things, say you like building small things at your desk, maybe check out electricity. If you like building bigger things, like I do, um, I'm putting 6-inch pipe in the air, which is about that big. I don't know. You gotta find what you're interested in. If someone likes building a TV, maybe they can go into the little electronics of electricity. There's all different things you can look into. If you like building, um, say you want to build your own house, carpentry. You frame the whole house. You put up walls. There's so many different trades that go into building buildings. My advice is just check them all out, see what you're interested in, maybe test a few, and then really choose what you want to do.
Nice. So what is the most difficult part?
Um, the most difficult part, I went to college for 3 years. I got into plumbing when I was 21 at the time, but I started my apprenticeship when I was 22. So when I kept thinking about, geez, I'm gonna be 27, 28 by the time I finish my apprenticeship, I feel like that's late. But now that I'm thinking about, I'm 26 years old now. Now that I think about it, it flies by like that. So the hardest part was the waiting to get here. But as I started working, as I start learning more and more to propel my career, time's just flying by. So there's not really many hard parts. Actually, one hard part, you always got to wake up early. I start work at 7, wake up at 5. My friends like to go out on weekdays sometimes, so sometimes I got to take one for the team and stay home, or sometimes I just take it on the chin and just I'm tired when I wake up. So that's one hard part, but other than
Yeah.
that, I got nothing to complain about.
Yeah, so the other question I have is about unions. Are you in a union? Like, can you explain what that is and what that goes, just basically what it is and how you get in one and if you need to be in one?
I'm in a union. I'm in a plumbers and pipe fitters local 9. Um, Basically, a union for a trade is you go, you sign a book. That puts you on a list that you're available for work. A company will call the union saying they're looking for someone. When I got first picked up by my company, the uh, the the boss said, "I'm looking for a first year apprentice," and that's what I was at the time. This was in 2017. I was a first year apprentice, so I went out to that job, and me and the guys got along pretty well. We they started to trust me. All you got to do is be a hard worker. I did whatever they asked. You're getting paid for it, so you might as well. And then I've been with them ever since. This is my 4th year with them, and I've had the same boss the whole time, the same foreman the whole time. I, Me and him are cool. We text and we talk a lot. So um, building trust with him really gets you in. And then say I ever got laid off by this company, say I did something bad, I wouldn't, but um, say work got slow, I got laid off by this company. The good thing about being in a union is I can go back and sign that book and I'll be put back on the list. And then say another company calls. And right now I'm a 4th year apprentice. So the next company could call for a 4th year apprentice and I could get sent out. So really the best thing about a union is if you lose your job, you can go sign a book, and a couple weeks later you can have a new job.
That's great. That's great. So it is kind of like being part of a team, right? So it has like your foreman's like the coach, and then you have everyone else working on the project. What's the correlation between that and wrestling, with your team, whether it's college or high school? What's the correlation and similarities between those?
Work ethic's a big thing. Sometimes I'll run into log jams where I'll be like, I can't get this done by myself. You just got to sit back and look at it and think about the steps to take to doing it. Do I have to ask someone for help? Say it's a big piece of pipe, I got to ask someone for help. All you got to do is ask. You got a partner there, practically, which is a teammate. Ask for help. Ask for suggestions. Ask for advice. I asked my foreman, what do you want me to do whenever, say not run out of work, but say I finish all my jobs? You go to the coach to ask, what's next. He'll give you something to do.
And there's always something new to learn, new technique and everything else. What is your favorite and best like wrestling memory and moment you have?
My favorite wrestling memory is my senior year, 2012. The year before, we lost in the group finals to High Point. I took that one hard because I was the last match and they won on the last match. So really the next year, all I wanted to do was win a state title as a team, because my brother's team won 3 state titles, and I just looked up to that. That's something huge in the South Plainfield community, winning a team state title. It might not be as big as an individual state title, but that's something everyone in the town wants for you. And 2012 down in Toms River when we beat Ocean, that was probably my favorite memory. Went and hugged my dad, and just felt like a big weight off my shoulder because of what happened the year before. And all you guys, we all got it done that day. It was a great time.
Yeah, we ended up being the number 1 team in the state of New Jersey, which, as a public school, all of us growing up, and even for the community of South Plainfield, we did it as a public school. We did it as, childhood friends, and, there was no transfers. We weren't a public school. We all grew up together and getting that job done, and that was just, made it even sweeter.
We all spent our time at the PAL. We all put the time in. We went through rec, middle school, high school. It was a great feeling winning it with some of my closest friends too, guys that I'm still best friends with to this day. So I'll never forget that moment.
Definitely. And you're coaching now too. You're helping out at the high school?
Yeah, I do volunteer with South Plainfield now. They got some good guys.
Yes.
I'm really praying that the next all high school sports happen next year. I'm crossing my fingers for that, because I don't want any kids to miss out on their opportunities.
For sure. And what was some of the things you carried over from your wrestling experience now into coaching?
Focus on the little things. You're always trying to hit the sweetest move. You're always trying to hit a duck under. You're always trying to hit the pass by. But think of the things you've trained for 10 years of your life. I remember drilling a cross-face cradle in the PAL wrestling room. And my best move when I was in high school was a cross-face cradle. I did love that bar and half, that roll through bar and half. But cross-face cradle is a simple move, and you can pin anyone with it. So right now, I just tell the guys, stick to what you're good at. Stick to what you know. Stick to what you know works. Hit a double leg to a cross-face cradle and get the match over with.
Sometimes that's all you need, right? I remember you always slapped that cross-face cradle on everyone. What was that? The fastest? Was it the most and fastest pin? Was that during the GMCs, right? That's a trophy you got, right?
Oh,
was
yeah. The kid I pinned won it. Screwed myself on that one. He pinned his way through the wrestlebacks when I pinned my way through the winner's bracket, and he pinned his way through the wrestlebacks and stole the trophy from me.
Still you show me someone that you pinned yourself. Oh
Never hear
man,
that one.
that's great. That's great. All right, so adversity moment. What is some adversity you've been through your life that makes who you are now? That's a part of you and your story.
Let's see. Just my senior year in high school when I was wrestling. It was actually a couple days before the state tournament. This is probably not even close to anyone else's adversity, but my first dog died. I loved her, and it was just a bad time. So I dedicated that state tournament to her. I had a picture of her in my headgear. Ended up taking second, which I feel like I failed, but in reality, when you go out and perform for someone, you already have a purpose. You're doing it how you want to do it. You think you're doing it for someone, but when you're really doing it for yourself. So, state tournament senior year, that was a pretty tough time, but I'm glad the way it turned out. I would have loved to win it, but I'm really happy that I got second that year.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. And I like that. I like that. When you do it for the purposes of something else, in return it's for your own self. So who is Tyler Hunt and what do you want to be known for?
Tyler Hunt is a hardworking, friendly individual. Do whatever you need. Ask him whatever you want. And I just want to remember for being original, Don't let anyone tell you how to live your life. Don't let anyone tell you you need to go to college to be successful. I've heard that plenty of times, but I'm proud of my decision. I'd love to finish college at one point, but I'm proud of my decision to jump into trade school and get my life going. One of the best decisions I ever made.
Definitely. And I'm super proud of you. And, I always appreciated you for, everything that you've done for me and everything that you've done for the team and the community. So I just want to thank you. And where can people find you besides Legates and Manasquan?
Spend a lot of time down there. Find me. I'm always hanging out with you guys.
You can get them. You can get them on Instagram, right? You got your Instagram.
I got Twitter. I got Facebook. All the same things.
Yeah.
TR Hunt.
Hit him up, guys. He has a lot of knowledge, not only with wrestling but the trade school and plumbing. If that's something you're interested in, maybe if you're in college, you don't know what you want to do, maybe try out trade school. Maybe learn about it. Even you wrestlers out there, man. Tyler Hunt, he was the man. He keeping it simple, and you won a lot. You won almost all your matches, and you had a great high school career, and a lot of people can learn from you, for sure.
Yeah, man. Had a great time. Thanks, Ray Jazz.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate everything.
Yep.
You're the man.
Ray Jazz a call. Major decision, 14.